I'm Mason Mount. You're listening to the London is Blue podcast.
All right, so continuing on, right? Chelsea faltered today. We were up 1-0. We gave up a goal. I don't care what anyone says. We lost 2 points. That's just the way the match went.
That's math,
so we've got
Brandon.
What?
That's what they call math.
Maths in the UK, actually.
Ever heard of it?
So here's some ideas that we have, Dan. Feel free to grab one of these and run with it. So basically, the same starting 11 from the Super Cup match, aka fatigue. That match lasted 120 minutes, aka fatigue. Not everyone is N'Golo Kante fatigue. Oh, but we do have some other reasons. But let's go ahead and settle on fatigue first. I heard some terrible takes. One was a front-facing video about how just everything was botched because if the players are fatigued this early in the season, we're screwed. This is essentially extended preseason. I don't think really anyone is at full fitness. And outside of Liverpool, who's had 2 patty cake games, like Chelsea have had the hardest run in Europe so far in the first 3 matches. And there is understandably a toll. And by the way, I'm still super upset that Super Cup even went to extra time. That's bullshit. It's a glorified friendly.
Super Cup should go to penalties after 90 minutes.
After 45 and a half.
After 45 and a half.
We're not going to relitigate that. That would just be as pointless about talking about VAR and handballs, so we will just move in a different direction. But I do think the context is important because if you don't remember that there was a Super Cup midweek, that the starting 11 outside of Tammy Abraham and for Giroud is essentially the exact same as it was on Wednesday with travel. Like, these players have basically been going, and this Monday, I'm hoping everybody has gotten a day off to rest and recover appropriately because it is going to be a long season. And the fact that for that first 15, 20 minutes, they were pressing hard, what's starting to happen is that there's just not enough gas in that tank to go as long and as hard as they're trying to at the moment. We saw that with Pochettino 2 or 3 years ago. He would try that really, really aggressive press for 15, 20 minutes, just absolutely hounding an opposition team's players. And what would happen? They would get gassed. They weren't up to go that much. And I think what we maybe didn't do appropriately in this match, Nick, is say, hey, you know what? The players are really, really tired, and we need to get way more compact with these lines because we're leaving all that space in the midfield again in front of our back four, and they're going to exploit it. And what did Leicester do in the second half, Nick? They exploited it heavily.
Yeah, I mean, to me, when we look at that first 20, 25 minutes, that was a gamble by Frank to say, my home return, Pulisic's debut, Mason Mount, all this positive vibes from the Super Cup on Wednesday. We're gonna go out and try and knock them out in the first round, right? Like that, it's one of those types of deals, and it failed. That tactic failed, because the result is a 1-1 draw, and honestly, it could have been a hell of a lot worse in the second half. So, I think it was emotional drainage as well as physical drainage that kind of contributed to the performance. And I cannot say enough about N'Golo Kante every fucking week, but we're going to do it again because he played 120 minutes on Wednesday and then went out and was asked to play another 94 minutes. I mean, and he's not even fully fit. Like, I don't know what else to say about this guy other than, Frank has looked at him and said, you're going to be a workhorse for me again, and you're going to be the guy. I mean, he is our best player as it stands. So I think it was a little bit naive from a tactical standpoint to set the team up the same way. I can understand, Brandon, why Frank did it because, you want to take the connection and the team spirit from Wednesday and apply it forward in the first home match of the season and put on a show. But, you started to look at, like, Pulisic looked gassed early. I looked at, like, Zuma and Christensen, who played relatively well, but I think we're also, like, mentally fatigued because Liverpool and Leicester are way different styles for, defensive pairing. There's just a lot that goes into that, and not all of it's just minutes played.
Well, exactly. We'll probably get into a little bit of formation gate, down the line, because it seems like Lampard likes to switch it up a little bit. Now, before we had Sarri in, Sarri out. Now we're going to have 4-3-3 versus the 4-2-3-1s. I see it happening. But, I think, Frank wants this to be a very tactically flexible team. I think he's looking for the team to be able to kind of shift and adapt to different situations. And so, maybe the 4-3-3 was the right call for Liverpool, and it just lined up perfectly. Maybe he thought the 4-2-3 would be a little bit more defensively. Turns out late in the match that wasn't really it. But it could go back to fatigue. Like it doesn't really matter what formation you're in. If you don't have the legs to get back, transitioning from offense to defense, you're in trouble. And it's actually one of the most difficult things to do in the game. So as I'm reading up on tactics and this stuff actually for my day job, the game is broken down into, attack with, possession and attack, possession defense, and then it's all about transition from defense to attack and attack to defense. And when you have the ball, Chelsea were very sloppy in that transition when they had the ball, and then getting back on defense, we were in bad situations. And not saying this is an exact replica, but early on in Maurizio Sarri's career, we would commit way too many people forward, and then there'd be like Jorginho on 4 going the other way. There's light signs of that, but I think that's also part of the mentality that Frank wants to play with, is numbers forward, be on the front foot, and be aggressive. So they'll figure that out and figure out what the shape is. But yeah, fatigue was a huge part of it. Some other ideas from Nami Footy who tweeted out.
Before we get to that, can we also maybe I think there is some respect to be given to Leicester, particularly for Maddison, who I think had a really, really strong game and was given us a bit of a challenge. Oh, yeah. Yeah, the second half, when he grew into it, when he was finding a little bit of his feet there, he definitely, and really the Leicester attacking kind of individuals, Vardy was, he was quiet, right? But he does like to score against the teams and what we call the big six. But, he was kept pretty quiet, but he was not making it easy either. So, I mean, there's a really strong attacking set of players in this Leicester team, and I think they made life difficult for us too. They're not a pushover team anymore by any means.
Okay, but some other ideas that we have out there are from Newman. So one tweet he said is, one thing that I've noticed in these 2 Premier League games is that Chelsea go all crazy in the first 15 minutes, and by crazy I mean aggressive press, closing down with speed and aggression, and then their fuel level drops as the game progresses, which, by the way, is so normal. Like, that happens. Frank even mentioned this, Nick. He said, when we are in active rest mode, he goes, we just need to be better with the ball. Again, Chelsea got caught in possession way too many times in the second half. I think that's a lot of what has to do with it.
Yeah, and one of those was N'Golo Kante giving the ball up on the halfway line, which you almost never see, right? It's that kind of stuff. Pulisic got pickpocketed a couple of times. It's just they were careless with the ball, and especially in the second half, it was just, it's just not the mentally sharp performance that you need, even if you're physically tired. So that makes a huge difference. And of course, you're right. Like, you're not going to be able to just press like that for 90 minutes. It's impossible. And most of these guys are running a 10K every match regardless. And then to add, sprinting a full 10K with cutting and movement into that, it's just impossible to do that. So naturally you would fade, but mentally you got to stay sharp.
All right. Well, the other idea Newman had was, in the game against Liverpool, Chelsea did not press this way, and that's why they stayed in the game until the last minute, as they had the energy to play. But when Chelsea pressed crazily, they look lethargic in the later stage. Again, this just all makes sense, Dan. If I don't know if it's Frank or maybe the players, but there's the learning curve of game management for this group, and they're going to have to figure out, how do maybe they don't play as great as they did in the first 25 minutes, but they're able to do that to 80%, and then maximize it much longer along the lines.
Yeah, I think that's accurate and one of maybe the most correct things you've ever said on this podcast. So, bravo.
Make it sound like a rarity.
Oh, I mean, they're not that frequent. But I think we just have to get to a place of understanding of how we press, how often we press. We're pressing players. We're not pressing passing lanes, which is a little bit different from what we saw from Sarri last year. The players would really try to kind of form around the triangle, that was kind of being formed with the lanes that you want to have, right? You want to be able to give yourself 3 places to kind of pass at any given time. And when we were under Mauricio Sarri, we were trying to kind of just block the lane. We are going after the individual players right now, which is going to require a little bit more motoring. I mean, even Schmeichel was being closed down at times, and in this match, Giroud was doing it too. I know that we saw that, Nick. We were like, what the hell is Ollie doing, trying to get in the action as well? So the whole team was there and doing it, and I think part of it was the excitement that was in the crowd. Part of it was the home opener. I think part of it was maybe a little unfortunate level of game management, because we had taken just, again, 20% extra and spread that across into the 46 through 60th minute. We'd probably be in better shape.
Yeah. I mean, look, Giroud, I thought, was all over the place, and I was impressed by him. I mean, he should have had an assist in this game too. I mean, that was the Conte shot that was blocked late. But I mean, again, between the pressing, between him, I think getting the ball and passing, he was really solid. I think he just ran out of gas too. I mean, it was just overall that was a theme of our podcast, Brandon. They just ran out of gas, and it's understandable playing 3 hard matches in a week.
Yeah. Again, no one else has had to do this outside Liverpool, and I think it's safe to say that Liverpool have had nowhere near the challenge that Chelsea have. It's just objective, honestly, at this point. So overall, it could be much worse. I mean, we're out of the relegation zone. What else are we looking for after the second week? I mean, come on.
We did it.
Hey, look, we are closer to City than we have been since the end of last season in terms of points on the table. So things we just got to keep in perspective.
Absolutely. You just got to hold on for dear life the rest of the season and entail City.